Once upon a time, in the mystical bayous of Louisiana, where the rhythmic beat of ceremonial drums echoed through the mist, a shimmering pearl necklace was found on the riverbank. It belonged to no one, yet the villagers whispered it was a token of a curse from the mermaid who guarded the river. Whoever claimed it would be swept into a whirlwind of love, betrayal, and terrifying truths. Clara, a vibrant young woman full of life, picked up the necklace and slipped it on, unaware that her fate had already begun to unravel. Why did the mermaid choose Clara? Was the necklace a gift or a curse? The story unfolds as Clara, with a heart yearning for freedom, steps into a fated romance, only to confront dark secrets from the past and the arrival of a beguiling stranger. The mystery by the river will guide you through a rollercoaster of emotions, from fiery love to heart-wrenching pain, and a truth no one could foresee. Come explore, but beware. The river is always listening. In the late summer afternoon, as the day's final sunset gilded the waters of the Louisiana swamp, Clara strode confidently along the moss-covered trail, her wavy brown hair shimmering like silk, dancing in the breeze. 23 years old, brimming with vitality and ambition, she was the pride of the local African-American community. From childhood, during full moon festival nights, Clara had been captivated by the ceremonial drums and the sinuous dance moves that rippled like the swamp's waters. Her parents always respected their daughter's free spirit. "My girl, the river knows how to listen, but it never binds anyone," her grandfather would say whenever Clara asked about love and marriage. In the eyes of the villagers, Clara was the embodiment of freedom, a girl who dove headfirst into every joy, unwilling to be confined by any binding promise. She often laughed, arms raised carefree, her chest heaving with the joy of a bird soaring through the sky. Stories about Clara's life spread quickly across the region. Some claimed to have seen her dancing alone in a midnight rain. Others said Clara sang vibrant songs, praying for ancestral spirits to bless a bountiful harvest. But no one had ever questioned what her heart might face until the festival night that changed her fate. That festival night, the moon was full and radiant, like a colossal silver disc, casting a halo over the palm tree spires along the riverbank. Families set out coconut wood and paper lanterns, the drums echoing through the swamp, stirring everyone's heartbeat. Clara, in a simple yet elegant white dress, stepped lightly on the soft earth, her eyes sparkling as she gazed at the mystical scene. Each urgent drumbeat felt like a call to freedom within her. Freedom to live, to love, to dream unbound by the rippling water's edge. Amid hundreds of shimmering lanterns, Clara suddenly spotted something reflecting the moonlight. It was a pearl necklace, its flawless white beads arranged in a perfect circle, as if each pearl had been polished by the river itself. Its size was just right, its strange luster impossible to ignore. The villagers quickly gathered, whispering warnings. "That's a sign of the swamp mermaid. Those who heed her call will be swept into a whirlpool of love and betrayal, unable to turn back." But Clara only giggled, gazing at the moon and thinking to herself, "If love is a curse, then I'll willingly drown in it." She bent down, picked up the necklace, gently stroking the icy pearls, then slipped it around her neck. As if declaring her thirst for freedom, she wanted to mark the moment she stood before a choice: continue a safe life or venture into something mystical. No one could stop Clara's steps, and the drums still thundered, keeping time with her heart. Back at her thatched house by the mangrove grove, Clara couldn't hide her excitement. She lay on the woven hammock, eyes fixed on the dark wooden ceiling. In her dreams, a gentle voice whispered, resonating through thick fog, "Be careful with your heart, for it will lead you to both paradise and perdition." The voice was like the river's breath, familiar yet alien. Clara awoke in the dead of night, heart pounding, sweat beading on her forehead. She felt a sudden unease, but dismissed it as a figment of her imagination, stirred by the drums lingering in her sleep. The next day, Clara appeared radiant at the dock, dew still glistening on her bright skin. She joined singing and dancing gatherings, laughing brightly with friends, talking of unfinished dreams, of yearning to explore distant New Orleans. The river flowed around her like a silent witness, both the mermaid's domain and the fragile line between freedom and constraint. Each sunset, Clara felt the necklace, as if it reminded her of an invisible force watching. The necklace wasn't just jewelry. It was like an unseen thread tightening around her heart, pulling her toward a hazy light. Clara found herself craving love more intensely than ever, wanting to give her heart wholly to someone, yet she also yearned to preserve her private space, unbound by any vow. Caught between these desires, she sometimes felt torn. Absolute freedom or eternal love. The feeling was like the festival drum's dramatic rhythm, rising then falling, urging her into an undefined journey. And then, fate began to reveal itself. Clara didn't yet know that among the crowd of visitors and villagers, a man was quietly watching her from afar. He wasn't from this community, his demeanor reserved, but his keen eyes couldn't hide his curiosity. This man would soon appear, bringing Clara new emotions, thrusting her into the whirlpool of love and trials the pearl necklace had foretold. Clara's soul still brimmed with freedom and ambition, but now she felt a strange urging. Does love truly bind? Or am I binding my own heart? That question would follow her every step, every swamp drumbeat, and as the mysterious man drew closer, a new chapter of Clara's life would begin. A chapter written with fervent love, the power of a curse, and a quest for true freedom. As the late autumn sunlight began to fade, the atmosphere of the fall festival in the Louisiana swamp brimmed with the sweet scent of ripe fruit and the lively sound of rustic guitar strums. Stalls displayed roasted corn cakes, freshly pressed sugarcane juice, and local handmade crafts, drawing hundreds of villagers and visitors. Amid the bustling crowd, Clara, with the shimmering pearl necklace still adorning her neck, felt a distinct shift in the air. The noisy throng seemed to part naturally, making way for a new presence, young soldier James, freshly returned from military service. James took his first step onto the rickety wooden bridge leading to the festival, his tall frame clad in a sun-faded uniform, yet his warm smile and pensive eyes were enough to stir any girl's heart. Clara, with her keen intuition, instantly sensed his difference. While curious glances darted and moved on, James's gaze lingered longer, tender, like someone searching for something distant. The moment their eyes met, time seemed to slow. The drums, the guitars, even the cheerful chatter faded behind an invisible curtain of fate. James didn't rush to approach. He paused at a stall selling seashell bracelets, quietly observing Clara as she smiled with friends. Sometimes, a tilt of his head, a moment's hesitation glancing her way, was enough to convey what he wished to say. Then, at last, as Clara stepped back toward the wooden bridge, he approached, his deep, warm voice rising like a whisper. "May I join you to watch the forest's fiery sunset?" Clara nodded slightly, her heart racing. For the first time, she felt her freedom had room for love, if it came with true sincerity. They strolled along the swamp's edge where the sunset dyed the water red and flocks of swallows swirled and swooped. James spoke of years away from home, of long nights guarding borders, of unsent letters to family. Clara listened, her heart aching as she pictured his lean figure in a desolate forest. She realized some hearts endure storms to love more fully. Without lofty promises, just understanding and comfort, James soothed wounds Clara had never voiced. From that first meeting, she knew she was no longer alone. Soon their conversation led them through many stalls, from mimosa honey jars to hand-painted wide-brimmed hats. James paused at a food stall, picking up a steaming corn cake and handing it to Clara, his smile radiant. "Try it. I guarantee you'll never forget this flavor." The aroma of sticky corn blended with its rich, nutty taste made Clara laugh aloud, warmth spreading through her. In that simple moment, she believed love wasn't just grand words. but sharing a bite of cake, a sip of coffee in the morning mist. In the days that followed, Clara and James grew closer. They wandered together along trails through mangrove forests, watching fish leap in the sunlit river. James shared his modest dream, a small wooden house by the river where he could raise chickens, grow a few vegetable patches, and hang a hammock for him and his wife to rest each evening. His words rang like a soothing melody, stirring in Clara a longing she thought had long slept. She, who once dreaded even the sweetest bindings of marriage, began to envision herself in that future. In a flowing white dress, hand in hand with the returning soldier, stepping into a haven of love. When James knelt, pulling out a silver ring engraved with waves and offering it to Clara, the world seemed to pause in a shimmering moment. "Will you walk with me through life's storms?" he asked, without mentioning any conditions. Clara, her heart torn between yearning for freedom and dreaming of a home, smiled, nodded. "You are my freedom." Cheers and applause erupted, friends and family's arms wrapping tightly around them, marking the momentous turning point. Yet, behind her joyful smile, Clara couldn't help but absently touch the pearl necklace, the initial symbol of her thirst for freedom and the swamp's curse. In a private moment, James made a request that gave Clara pause. He wished to preserve purity until their wedding night, as a full commitment to their future marriage. The request wasn't unusual, but for Clara, it stirred a slight unease. Would the freedom she cherished be constrained by invisible terms? She nodded in agreement, but her heart rippled like the river's surface at midnight. That unease led her to Lila, her closest friend, who always understood Clara's zest for living fully. Night after night, under pale moonlight, Lila brought Clara to a secret gathering for souls seeking escape from the village's prying eyes. It was a space shrouded by dense mangroves, where lanterns floated on the water casting shimmering streaks of light. Jazz mixed with blues flowed from portable speakers, inviting everyone to sway, to shed life's burdens. At that gathering, amid unfamiliar faces and overflowing laughter, Clara suddenly met Marcus. His eyes were deep as the midnight ocean, his voice soft yet magnetic. Without elaborate invitations, Marcus stood there moving to the music, waiting for Clara to draw near. The finesse in how he listened, how he noticed her every gesture, sent a new surge of emotion through Clara's heart. Excitement, curiosity, laced with a shiver. The pearl necklace around her neck suddenly burned hot, as if pulling her into an inescapable whirlpool. In a fleeting moment of impulse, Clara let herself dance with Marcus, letting the autumn breeze whip through her hair, letting lantern light glint on her skin. She felt his arms encircle her waist, and in that moment her promise to James seemed lost in her racing heartbeat. The interplay of her thirst for freedom, a budding passion, and the shadow of the swamp's curse created a brief but potent climax, enough to reshape every decision to come. And as the music softened, Clara realized she had stepped into a new journey, one of hesitation and temptation, where the line between true love and a hazy nightmare was fragile. She returned home, carrying the scent of sweat and night-blooming mimosa, her eyes distant, pondering two men, James, the symbol of faith and home, and Marcus, the embodiment of radiant but perilous freedom. Those two worlds were intertwining, leaving in Clara the first traces of doubt. She didn't yet know that her impulsive moment under the pale moon was the spark of a chain of tragedies, where the pearl necklace would reveal the true power of the curse, and her heart would face life or death choices. From here, Destined Encounter is no longer just a story of budding love, but a turning point opening a door to both paradise and perdition, where Clara must discover the true freedom of her heart. The afternoon sun filtered through the mangrove canopy, casting warm patches of light on the swamp's surface, fading with each of Clara's steps. The connection with Marcus, initially just fleeting moments on the fringes of secret festivals, had now become a smouldering flame, quietly consuming her heart. They didn't meet under the bright daylight, but only in small motels hidden behind wisps of mist, where the steady echo of ancient ritual drums lingered like a lullaby, cloaking their forbidden desires. In those silent rooms, Marcus made Clara feel revered, like a goddess, no longer the 23-year-old fearing marriage, but an angel awakened in the misty swamp. Each time she touched the pearl necklace, Clara felt a powerful surge drawing her closer to Marcus. The string of white pearls seemed to fuel her heart, making her unable to resist savoring every moment with him, though she knew she was betraying James, the man she'd promised to build a future with. In Clara's mind, it was merely temporary joy. Once the wedding passed, she'd set everything right, but she forgot one thing. When emotions cross boundaries, reason loses its grip. Lila, her closest friend and sole confidant in this secret, often whispered in her ear, "You deserve to live for yourself, Clara. Don't let anyone control you." In Lila's eyes, Clara saw unbound freedom, a path strewn with wildflowers she once dreamed of. Late at night, Lila led Clara to swamp gatherings reserved for those escaping the village's prying eyes. It was a world of incense smoke, sweet liquor, and limitless dances under the moon. Clara indulged, drowning out empty promises, shedding the weight of preordained future plans. But one night, a dream yanked Clara back to harsh reality. Amid silvery mist, the figure of a swamp mermaid emerged, her jet-black hair like the mud of the marsh. Her sad, knowing eyes seemed to pierce every corner of Clara's soul. A voice rose, gentle but resolute. "Your heart is astray. The river will claim what it gave." The fleeting vision jolted Clara awake, her heart pounding, cold sweat beading on her brow. She wondered if the curse was real. Had she traded her honor and future for a fragile promise? Yet when she opened her eyes the next morning, Clara couldn't pull away from Marcus. Her gaze followed his silhouette vanishing behind a window, as if each of his steps beckoned her to follow. With the wedding just one night away, Clara felt an indescribable pressure. She pretended to visit the church to pray, accustomed to keep calm before the big day, but instead slipped into the swamp through its tangled channels to meet Marcus one last time. His figure appeared in a long dress, cleverly disguised as a stranger, evading all eyes. Under the dim moonlight, he greeted her with a fervent gaze and a tender invitation. "Run away with me, we can start anew elsewhere." In that moment, Clara stood teetering between two worlds. The freedom Marcus promised was alluring, but James's image, his simple dream of a home, lingered in her heart. Fate seemed to push her toward Marcus, but James's true love awaited at the church's threshold. Clara fell silent, her heart constricting as she refused the dreamy offer. She promised herself she'd return, promised it would end before dawn broke. Marcus nodded, his eyes both passionate and tinged with sorrow. However, as Clara turned toward the church, her heart skipped a beat. On the steps, under dim lamplight, Marcus appeared again. Not the dashing figure, but with eyes cold as lightning in a forest storm. No greeting, no explanation, just a look that made Clara realize his promise of escape wasn't a retreat. The weight of the curse, or his ambition to possess her forever, was stark in his gaze. Her heart raced, caught between fear and regret. The ritual drums echoed from afar, stirring the stillness around rotting wooden posts. Clara reached out as if to grasp tomorrow's gentle light, but Marcus stepped closer, his hand lightly brushing the pearl necklace on her neck. Light danced on the pearls as if to swallow her last hopes for a peaceful life. A crescent moon peeked through the leaves, casting a shy sliver of light, adding to the scene's eerie allure. Clara stepped back, her heart squeezed tight. Each breath grew laboured, as if the swamp were draining her vitality. She realised not just love, but the river's curse was vying for her. The journey from freedom's edge to personal tragedy had never been shorter. In the quiet before the storm of emotions, Clara only had time to look deep into Marcus's eyes, searching for any ember of true love. But instead she saw only resolve and darkness, signalling the swamp's secret wouldn't easily let go. The river flowed silently behind them, observing every moment with the cautious, cold gaze of a curse's keeper. Thick fog clung to the reeds, the incessant chirping of crickets making the air more oppressive. Clara realised that if she didn't choose, if she didn't sever her tie to Marcus, Not only her love, but her life, would veer into darkness. James waited, with dreams of a simple, happy home. Lila awaited her return, believing in personal freedom. But the pearl necklace glowed with strange warmth, reminding her of its power. And then, as Clara clutched the pearls in her palm, she heard the rivers whisper clearly, "You chose your path. Now face its end." In that moment, she knew tragedy loomed near. The night before the wedding, she stood not just between light and shadow, but between a vow of love and the swamp's curse. The final confrontation would unfold at the church's threshold, where the priest awaited to read solemn vows, and Marcus, once the bringer of passion, now loomed as her gravest threat. Only one night remained, and the swamp's secret would be unveiled. Clara, with a fractured heart, had to swiftly find her salvation before the pearl necklace drained her last hopes. In the shimmering mist, the final dewdrop on a mangrove leaf glistened like fate's last promise. No love comes without cost, no freedom is free. Clara took a deep breath, her eyes fixed on the church, where her future, bright or dark, still hinged on her choice. The dawn of the momentous day broke over the Louisiana River, casting a pale golden glow on the languid waters and the whispering mangroves in the morning mist. The sound of ritual drums rose from the riverbank, not just heralding a wedding, but like a communal prayer for a love born under the moonlit night. On the damp, sandy shore, rows of bamboo chairs stood neatly, draped in pure white cloth, adorned with clusters of paper lanterns and wildflower garlands. Palm and mangrove leaves intertwined, creating a setting both rustic and ethereal, like a dream of the American South. In that setting, Clara appeared in a dazzling white wedding dress, its bodice hugging her waist, the skirt flaring wide like a lotus just blooming. Glimmering on her slender neck was the silver pearl necklace tied to her fate through countless swamp nights. Clara's eyes flickered with unease, her lips pressed thin to hold a radiant smile. Each step brought her closer to the makeshift chapel. A humble thatched structure, yet solemn with a wooden altar carved with fish and lotus. Villagers lined both sides, their gazes tender, brimming with hope. The drums grew more urgent, pounding in Clara's chest like a signal of a colossal machine of fate about to start. The pastor, a Cajun man, gaunt, his wide-brimmed hat shading half his face, began the ceremony with a warm prayer. Amid the solemn air, the first turning point came when he asked, "Does anyone object to this marriage?" Silence fell. Normally the question was mere formality, but today, an odd current ran through the rows of chairs, everyone holding their breath. Then Marcus, the man who'd posed as a close guest the day before, stepped onto the platform. He spoke no objection, only his cold gaze swept over Clara and James, unsettling the guests. Clara felt her mind reel, the dress seeming heavier, her heart sinking. But Marcus merely walked to the back row, sitting down with a chilling calm. Sunlight pierced the mangrove leaves, casting streaks of light and shadow on Marcus's face, making him more enigmatic. James, the groom in an elegant white suit, noticed Marcus's unusual presence. Before the ceremony continued, James turned to Clara, offering a warm smile to dispel her fears. "Are you okay, love? I'm right here." His words were a gentle balm. Amid the sea of ritual and curious eyes, Clara found an anchor, nodding faintly, striving to stay composed. The pastor raised his hand in blessing. The drums slowed to a gentle rhythm, and finally, the couple exchanged rings to resounding applause. But as the ceremony ended, cracks began to show. Clara stepped out of the chapel, her face still radiant, but her hands trembled as she gripped James's. While everyone moved toward the welcoming arch, Marcus sauntered to the reception table. He leaned in, his voice warm yet sharp. "Congratulations, Clara, but you might want to hear something I have to say." Without waiting for a response, he announced to the gathering, "I am the bride's brother, abandoned by her family for our poverty. His words sent the reception into a whirl. Clara gasped, unable to believe her ears. Her brother? She'd met Marcus in the swamp under mysterious moonlight. How could he be her kin? James, face paling but composure held, pulled a chair for Marcus, boldly inviting him, "Welcome to the family. Let's celebrate together today." James's sincerity drew applause from the villagers, who saw it as a noble act from the new groom. Clara stood frozen, tears welling. Lila, her childhood friend, whispered in her ear, "Something's wrong, Clara. What game is he playing?" But the young bride had no time to answer. The wedding music swelled, people pulled Clara to the dance floor, raising glasses in cheer, surrounding her with joyful smiles. Her heart, though yearning for happiness, churned with unease. The reception continued by the river, guests savouring fragrant grilled fish and homemade wine, while a local band played soulful blues. Clara, her pristine white dress hemmed with dried mud, told herself to be joyful. James gently led her through each dance, whispering sweetly, "I'm proud you stayed true." Clara forced a smile, her heart shattering at the praise that felt so distant. Amid the enchanting music, she recalled nights with Marcus, vague dreams of the curse, his chilling gaze. She wondered, had she chosen the right husband, or was she still caught in another chain? Night deepened, the party waned, guests departing one by one. Clara and James left the dance floor, heading to their honeymoon house, a small wooden cabin cozy with a carp-embroidered rug and mimosa vases. The door closed, leaving just the two, the chirping crickets, and the mist rising from the wooden floor. James gently stroked Clara's hair, his eyes brimming with joy. "I know your heart has weathered storms. Today you proved your fidelity. I'm proud of you." Clara managed to smile, but inside her wounds bled. She hugged James tightly, clinging to the present, yet her mind echoed the swamp mermaid's dream whisper. The river will claim what it gave. Near dawn, Clara sank into exhausted sleep. Her face bore traces of regret and fear. In the dead of night, the phone on the table buzzed. The screen flashed, revealing a message from Marcus. The first part showed illicit photos secretly taken of Clara during their clandestine meetings. Dim lantern light, the pearl necklace glinting, her startled eyes caught unaware. Marcus added, "Send $10 million to this account within 24 hours or he'll see it all." Clara's heart seemed to stop. The wooden house fell eerily silent. A thought flashed. James, the man she loved, how would he react to these images? The pride in her fidelity, just praised, was a fragile facade, easily shattered by this threat. She froze for a moment, cold sweat dripping from her brow. Lila, sleeping nearby, jolted awake. "Clara, what's wrong?" Clara handed her the phone. Lila skimmed it, then shouted, "He's trapped you! You have to face him now, don't let this drag on." But Clara knew time wouldn't wait. Sending $10 million was no small feat. Finding that sum in a day was impossible. Her heart felt ready to burst, tears spilling over. Everything blurred, the lavish wedding, the vow of lifelong fidelity, faith in love, all drowning in the swamp curse's invisible threat. Clara quietly rose, the wide wedding dress no longer feeling elegant, but like a heavy shroud. She knew she had to act, but reason and emotion teetered, unable to find a way out. By morning, as the village awoke, they'd see a bride kneeling on the wooden floor, eyes brimming, hands trembling as she clutched the pearl necklace, symbol of both curse and hope. Clara understood the fiercest battle wasn't facing Marcus or saving her marriage, but confronting herself. Would she have the courage to break the curse, reclaim her heart's purity, and give James an honest, though painful, answer? The distant river flowed silently, witnessing lives rise and fall. The moment of decision loomed. Would Clara stay silent, compromise with the blackmailer for fleeting peace, or reveal the truth, though the loss might be the entire future she dreamed of? As dawn's light emerged, an answer had to come, before the river claimed it all. The misty dawn descended on the Louisiana River, the last sunlight glinting through mangrove leaves and faint kitchen smoke drifting from thatched roofs. Clara huddled in the attic room, her trembling hands clutching the worn phone that had made countless desperate calls. $4 million had flowed into Marcus's account, a sum enough to satisfy anyone. Yet instead of retreating, Marcus merely shrugged over the call, his voice colder than ever. "The amount doesn't matter, Clara. You still owe a bigger debt, your life and James's trust." Clara leaned against the damp wall, a suffocating feeling washing over her like an approaching storm. She wondered how far she'd slid down this path of deceit. At first, she only wanted to escape, to live for herself just once, but now everything spiraled beyond control. Marcus wasn't just blackmailing her with photos and videos, but with the curse of the pearl necklace, the curse the swamp mermaid had whispered in her dream. The river will claim what it gave. In the dead of night, hurried footsteps echoed outside the door. Marcus had slipped into the house. Gone was his former charm, his voice now a menacing growl. "Where do you think you're running, Clara?" She sprang up, eyes wide with fear. She shoved him back, desperate. "I'm married. I'm his wife now. Get out of my life!" But Marcus sneered, his laugh like a crocodile's hiss in the swamp. "You'll regret those words." Let go of your heart's grip, Clara told herself. She couldn't live in fear forever. That night, after Marcus's rage, she drifted between dream and reality. The swamp mermaid appeared in her dream, her sleek black hair floating above the inky river. Her sad eyes, vast as the sea, stirred Clara's soul. Face the truth, or the river will swallow you whole. She awoke, her heart pounding as if it might burst. The night was still thick outside the window, but Clara knew she couldn't bear this pain alone. The next morning, she called Lila to the attic. Her friend sat across, eyes wide. When Clara recounted everything, Lila gasped, "You've let this go too far, Clara. You can't keep playing his game. Give in one more time and he'll just wait for your next mistake to trap you." But Clara knew each time she complied with Marcus, she sank deeper into darkness. She couldn't keep hiding from James, the man who'd given her his heart with a vow of fidelity. Though terrified, though exhausted, she resolved to muster the courage to tell all. That afternoon, James returned from a long shift, still in his crumpled uniform, his eyes anxious after hearing of Marcus's presence. Clara hesitantly placed the phone on the table, her heartbeat thundering. She revealed every threat, every payment sent, and the compromising video Marcus held. James listened silently, his face shifting from concern to shock, then disappointment. And then, the ultimate blow struck. Clara accidentally dropped the phone in front of James, its screen playing the illicit video of her and Marcus in the swamp motel. The hazy images, Clara's lips and hands smeared with lipstick, her wild eyes, all laid bare like a dagger plunged into James's heart. He quietly picked up the phone, his gaze briefly sorrowful. Without another word, he turned and climbed the stairs, his steps heavy as rotting wood. Clara collapsed onto the cold wooden floor, agony tearing her chest. Every plan for love, every vow of fidelity, shattered, leaving only the brutal sting of betrayal. Tears streamed down, soaking her wedding dress. A symbol of a bright future now turned bitter. She was distraught, wondering, could true love be strong enough to redeem her from the abyss she'd leapt into? In her deepest despair, a sound broke through the door, the urgent wail of police sirens. Clara looked up, her heart leaping into her throat. Were they here for Marcus or for her, or both? The journey to confront the curse didn't end here. It was only beginning. Clara took a deep breath, rising with steely resolve. She wouldn't let this darkness stretch beyond one more night. No matter the river's wrath, she would face it, with truth, with courage, with true love. As the afternoon waned, the last rays of sunlight filtered through the mangrove tops, transforming the Louisiana swamp into a tranquil painting of deep greens and soft golds. Suddenly, the splintered wooden door creaked open, and police stormed in like a fierce wind sweeping through Clara and James's weathered honeymoon house. The clatter of boots echoed on the wooden floor. Flashlight beams flickered, casting wavering streaks of light, making every corner of the room brim with menacing shadows. Amid the chaotic sounds, an officer's voice rang out, cold and sharp. "He's a notorious blackmailer working with an accomplice." Clara stood rooted, her heart pounding wildly. Before her, police aimed guns at Marcus, the man whose gaze once enthralled her, now just a sinister criminal. He didn't resist, only shrugged, his lips curling slightly in foolish pride. Beside Marcus, the clank of handcuffs sounded as Lila, Clara's dearest friend, sharer of countless youthful dreams and secrets, stepped forward, looking haggard. Lila's face was bruised, her lips swollen, her eyes brimming with tears. Clara couldn't stifle a choked scream. "Lila!" Before she could process, Lila's shout shattered the air, her voice cracking with despair. "It's all your fault, Clara. You bragged about James, his fidelity, the happiness you boasted about. It made me jealous. Marcus and I planned to blackmail you." Each word from Lila was a razor-sharp blade piercing Clara's heart. All those nights she wept, tormented by threats, were a staged act by the one she trusted. Lila, her sole ally who shed tears of comfort when Clara was afraid, was the orchestrator of this horrific blackmail nightmare. In that moment, Clara felt every shard of trust crumble. Lila's betrayal, following the payments, the compromising videos made Clara doubt everything, from friendship to love to herself. But the story didn't end there. As the room reeled in shock, a gentle pat on her shoulder broke through. Clara turned to see James, her beloved groom, offering a smile both warm and commanding. He stepped forward, taking handcuffs from an officer, his voice firm. "Thank you, officers. She didn't do all this alone." Clara was stunned as James tore back the curtain of fate. He wasn't just a faithful husband, but a covert detective, tracking Marcus for years. Through the festival days, the secret meetings, James had quietly gathered evidence, working with police to trap the blackmailers. He married Clara not only for love, but to create the perfect conditions to crack the case. She gaped as he produced a thick file. Photos, videos, investigation reports, all stamped confidential, undeniable proof of the criminal plot. Clara's heart swirled with emotions, fury at the unforgivable betrayal, yet overwhelming gratitude. He had protected her, even when she was unaware. The police promised to return all the extorted money to Clara and James, a sum to cover material losses, but not the emotional toll. Clara stood silent as an officer declared, "We're committed to returning this money to you once legal procedures are complete." In that chaotic scene, Clara knelt before James, tears streaming uncontrollably. She choked out, I'm so sorry, James. I betrayed you, betrayed myself." James bent down, lifting her, but his voice remained cold. "I forgive you, Clara, but this marriage is over." One short sentence, enough to extinguish any hope of a shared future. He let go, walking out of the empty honeymoon room, leaving Clara alone amid the wreckage of trust and dreams. The door slammed shut in the evening breeze, James's footsteps fading, giving way to an eerie silence. Clara stood in the ruins, feeling everything dissolve, the wedding music, friends' laughter, even the pristine white dress, once a symbol of purity, now a hollow shell of guilt. She wondered, could anything be strong enough to hold the heart of a man who'd given her his life? Or was it all love, pain, just an inescapable whirlpool spun by the Louisiana River? A cold gust swept through the window, carrying the cricket's relentless chirping and the swamp's musty scent. Clara suddenly recalled the pearl necklace, the object tied to her fate since those first nights by the river. She touched her neck, but the pearls were gone. In the chaos, she realized the necklace had vanished. Her heart clenched. It was the symbol of the curse that led her through rumors, traps, and haunting dreams. Without thinking, Clara rushed out barefoot on the damp earth, faint mud clinging to her heels. She ran to the riverbank, where the last sunset cast a glow on the water like a farewell. The river was silent, calmer than ever, as if untouched by human lives. Its surface mirrored the mangroves, beautiful and eerie. Clara knelt, eyes fixed on the murky yet silver-glinting water, the only place the necklace could hide. In that moment, a gentle light emanated from the river's depths. The swamp mermaid appeared, her long black hair flowing, a faint silhouette on the water. Her sad eyes, full of witness, seemed to grasp Clara's every sorrow. Her voice rose, soft but commanding. "You've learned the lesson. Live true to your heart." Clara barely dared breathe, fearing the echo would dispel the mystical figure, but deep within, her heart blazed. Tears flowed, not just from regret, but from understanding. Truth and freedom were the greatest powers, not binding vows or fleeting jewels. She bent down, picking up the necklace, stroking the icy pearls. The river's waters lapped gently, as if washing away her sins. Under the deep purple sunset, Clara rose with a renewed heart. She no longer needed James or Lila to affirm her worth. She'd faced the curse, seen the harshest truths, and now she was ready to write her life's next chapter. The mermaid faded into the mist, but her final whisper lingered. "Live true to your heart." Clara walked along the riverbank, the pearl necklace swaying on her neck, blending with the rhythm of lapping waves. Each step was a declaration of freedom and truth. She turned into the mangrove forest, leaving behind the police sirens, the entanglements of the past, and the pain that had forged her strength. The horrific truth had been unveiled, but it also brought her liberation. In the day's final sunset, Clara smiled. For the first time after endless anguish, she truly felt the breath of freedom. The Louisiana morning bore an unusual stillness, as if the swamp had weathered an inner storm and was now slowly healing. Clara sat on the wooden steps of the small house, where the joyful laughter of her and James once echoed. The grey, moss-covered thatched roof, the unpainted window frames left untouched after the abandoned wedding, stood as silent witnesses to the wounds endured. Gone were the lavish wedding bells and drums, the lantern-lit night parties. Clara's life now revolved around the swamp's murmurs and the idle chirping of birds by the water's edge. At first, each cold breeze weaving through her hair, each wave lapping against a boat, sent shivers through Clara, tinged with lingering panic. She still recalled the hollow ache in her heart from those early days after James left, leaving behind searing pain and a tangle of thoughts. Lila's betrayal, her closest friend, deepened her doubts about loyalty's worth. But as time passed, Clara realized she had to heal herself, unable to live forever in the past. She chose to stay in Louisiana, embracing a simple, honest life. Instead of drowning in liquor or fleeting flings, Clara spent her afternoons by the river. Under a makeshift tarp canopy, she sat, listening to the water's whispers tell their tales. The folklore passed down through generations in the village suddenly came alive. Sometimes it was the story of the swamp mermaid sheltering a lost girl's soul in a rainy night. Sometimes the legend of a mysterious stone hidden in the river's depths, granting untold power to those daring to touch it. Clara's eyes brimmed with vivid images, her ears eager for each resonant echo. In that space, she grasped her first lesson. Love, like the river, holds cunning strength and mercy. To endure, it must flow gently, not murky or sweeping away what's sacred. As months drifted by, the pain etched itself into faint scars. Clara learned to view her past not as a sinner, but as a precious journey for her soul. She stopped fleeing the dark corners of her heart, facing them head-on. Secrecy, not betrayal, destroyed her bonds. With James, she'd hidden her fears, letting Marcus manipulate her with threats. With Lila, she'd trusted blindly, never suspecting friendship could be a double-edged blade. On her small boat, gliding over the river's turquoise sheen at dusk, Clara vowed, "No love is true without honesty. The river hides no secrets, but people can hide the river in their hearts." She tended to the little house, replacing rotted planks, sweeping the doorstep. Yet the space of memories remained intact, stirring emotions in any visitor. Villagers, after hearing Clara's stories, began seeking her out, asking for advice. They shared their private woes, a mother fretting over a son gone silent, a youth defying prejudice, an elderly couple who'd forgotten the spark of love. At spring festivals, as drums and gongs rang out, Clara was invited to the centre, holding a microphone to recount the tale of the pearl necklace curse, the blackmail nights, the nightmare of lost trust. Her voice, gentle yet commanding, resounded. Don't let the thirst for freedom obscure the truth. The river knows all, and it will teach us costly lessons if we're not honest with ourselves. Her words echoed through the tarp canopy, carried by the breeze across the swamp. Villagers not only admired Clara's courage, but found in her a keeper of spiritual tradition. They revered her as a guide, guarding the line between reality and myth. From village children to elders, all were captivated by her heartfelt stories, reminding them to live truer, with less selfish scheming. Yet, a lingering question haunted Clara. After all the tragedy and forgiveness, she wondered, did Marcus and Lila still harbour grudges? Would they ever return for revenge? The old shadows weighed on her heart each time the wind rustled through dense mangroves. Many nights, Clara woke from nightmares, hearing footsteps at the window. She bit her lip, listening to her heartbeat, telling herself, I can't let fear rule me. It's time I master my fate. Then one night, as the crescent moon hid behind the trees, drums sounded from the swamp. Not festival drums, but a long, resonant gong, vibrating across the water. Clara sensed an unusual rhythm, like a call from another world. She locked the house, donned a wool shawl, and stepped onto the porch. Fog swirled around the house, its damp layers settling on her shoulders. Suddenly, a figure emerged at the forest's edge. Tall, slender, hauntingly familiar. Clara couldn't believe her eyes. It was James's silhouette, in the solemn white suit from their wedding, his face pensive, eyes still warm with affection. Her heart surged with hope, though it might be a mirage. James drew closer, his steps leaving no mark on the wet ground. When he was near, his ethereal form glided through the misty veil, leaving only the sound of waves lapping in the quiet night. Clara reached out, too late to touch. The vision dissolved with a gust's howl, leaving a chilling silence. She stood frozen, mouth agape, hand outstretched to nothingness. In that moment, Clara understood the river's final lesson wasn't the curse, but the fervent longing to be loved and understood. She told herself, James may not return, but his shadow lingers in every fold of memory. Marcus and Lila, even if they come back, are just ghosts of the past. What matters is, I've learned to live true to my heart. The river's lesson wasn't a warning, but healing. Clara returned to the water's edge, placing her hand on the cool river. The pale moon, veiled in mist, reflected the cracked mangroves and her silhouette on the surface. The river flowed, caressing her hand as if in comfort. Keep telling stories, so the next generation won't repeat past fractures. Honesty and truth are the red thread guiding life. Clara gave a faint smile, lifting her face to the night sky. Far off, night birds flapped, calling their flock. She turned back, closing the door softly. Inside, the wicker chair stood neatly. The small wooden table still bore traces of last night's coffee mug. Clara breathed deeply, feeling the floor's warmth. True love wasn't binding, but giving and sharing. Secrets led to ruin, while sincerity nurtured lasting bonds. With a heart weathered by trials, Clara knew life still held much beauty. She stepped onto the porch, staring at the river. Once more drums echoed, but now a melody of hope, gentle, profound, carrying a promise of peace and love. Clara smiled, whispering softly, "The river taught me a costly lesson. Now it's my turn to tell the story, so everyone knows only by living true to the heart are we truly free." In Louisiana's tranquil night, Clara lit a lamp, preparing for tomorrow's storytelling. When her voice rang out at the festival, it wouldn't just be a haunting tale, but a message of love, fidelity, and truth's value. The river's lesson would ripple on, a small flame warming the hearts of those daring to face themselves. In the pink-hued sunset over the Louisiana River, Clara's story still echoes like ceaseless drumbeats, reminding each of us of the fearsome power of promises and the fragility of trust. From a free-spirited girl, quietly entwined with every ripple of the water, Clara veered onto treacherous paths, where love became a curse and secrets became a barometer of tragedy. Only when the pearl necklace, symbol of destructive power, was returned to the river, did Clara grasp the greatest lesson. No matter how beautiful, love cannot endure without honesty. Now, as night gently falls on the quiet swamp's edge, Clara's story is not just a legend or a warning, but an echo of every heart among us. For none of us are wholly immune to moments of weakness, times we hide the truth out of fear or pride, only to plunge into the deepening spiral of secrets. Do you dare look into your own eyes in the mirror, to admit your mistakes, to open your heart and face the truth? Imagine sitting by the Louisiana River, listening to the water's murmurs, pondering folk tales passed down through generations. An elder tells of the swamp mermaid's curse. A young girl shares her adventure to far-off New Orleans, and Clara recounts her own journey, from craving freedom to the agony of loss, from a friend's betrayal to the resolve to rebuild her life. Each story is a fragment of the soul, a reminder that, without truth, even the finest things become shackles. You know, for audiences in America, where freedom and authenticity are cherished above all, Clara's lesson from the Louisiana River holds profound meaning. Freedom isn't the right to do whatever you want, but the right to live true to yourself and to others. Honesty is both the thread binding us to community and the key unlocking the door to happiness. But if we choose to conceal, we ourselves lock that door. Clara endured ultimate pain, realizing that secrets, however dazzling, harbor the seeds of destruction. So, have you ever held a pearl necklace in your heart? Have you delayed an important conversation, hidden a small truth, fearing the loss of something you deemed precious? Pause for a moment, take a deep breath, and think of Clara. She lost her marriage, thought love had crumbled, yet found true freedom by owning her mistakes and facing the truth. That's a lesson we all, no matter where we are, no matter our circumstances, can apply to our lives. If Clara's story touches your heart, please share it with friends, family, and your closest companions in America. Use quiet moments over morning coffee or long drives to tell each other about the swamp's curse, the mysterious pearl necklace, and, most importantly, the power of truth. For only when we listen together, share together, do these costly lessons truly spread, strengthening our communities. And don't forget, if you love folklore, mysticism blended with romance and drama, the African Tales YouTube channel is for you. Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications to never miss a magical story told in cinematic style, full of emotion and profound insight. There you'll discover countless legends from across Africa, tales of courage, strange marriages, and supernatural trials characters face. Each video is a journey through time, transporting you to distant lands, rich cultures, and timeless values. And now I want to hear from you. What should Clara do next? Could James forgive her, letting them continue their love story under the swamp's moonlight? Or will Clara choose freedom, embarking on a journey to discover herself, unbound by any vows or pursuits? Leave a comment below. Let's debate and share our perspectives, for only when we tell each other's stories does the tale truly come alive. Finally, tread carefully. The Louisiana River, with its ancient breath, is always listening, watching your every step, every word, every secret. Don't let the thirst for freedom or fear obscure the truth in your heart. Be brave, face it, live true to yourself, for that is the only path to true happiness. Thank you for listening, for sharing, and for joining African Tales. See you in the next episodes, where each folk legend will unveil another hidden corner of the human soul, awakening and growing us together.